All right, and we're live. Welcome everybody to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Today, I'm chatting with Mr. Redd Vencher. You guys probably know him from following him on Twitter and all. What do you got? Like one video uploaded or something on your channel?
Yeah, 0 right now.
Oh, 0. Oh, maybe it's the liked list or something that I saw there. But anyways, he's only got 26 subscribers, but I know you do plan on doing stuff there. He's also been guests on other channels as well, so do sub to him if you haven't already. Anyways, well, you know what we do. We talk about why we have left the faith, so to speak. And I kind of like to know, when you first sort of figured out that wasn't true and what led you to becoming the atheist activist you are today. Let me just rearrange it. Yeah, so anytime.
It's a course that I took, and part of it was reading different creation myths and stuff like that. Was some of the things we talked about from different religions. And so when you flip open reading one of the Hindu creation myths, you look at it, it's like, man, this stuff is crazy. I can't believe people believe it. Then you flip open to Genesis and stuff like that, and you're like, well, now why do I believe this and not this other stuff? This other stuff's silly to me. So that was one of the big ones that put me on the path to investigating my belief.
Yeah. You often wonder if say someone from India was looking at the Christian creation stories and was thinking the same thing. Well, that sounds ridiculous. Why do I believe this other one? Right. So it makes you wonder.
Yeah, I'd guess so. But yeah, so yeah, I looked at that stuff in that course, and there was a couple other creation stuff we looked at. And it was, all right, well, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look through, because history is something I like quite a bit. So looking through that, and so, well, let's see if there's like historical evidence to back everything up that I hold. And through the process of looking at that, I found Bart Ehrman's Lost Christianities, which came out about 15 years ago, 15, 16 years ago now.
Not familiar with that one.
Early 2000s. Yeah, so they're talking about early first century Christianity, Christian cults with it. What was thought before the Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff were found. That a lot of these, like Docetism or Docetism, I think, right. I'm going to be bad at pronouncing these. It's going to sound bad, but something like that was a second century heresy. And with the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found, all this stuff dates to the first century, even sooner. And in some interpretations, it's probably written about in the Bible, in Paul's letter to Corinthians, to the Corinthians, where he's talking about if we don't believe that Jesus died and rose from the dead, then our belief is foolish or silly. And I forget the exact quote, but so he had that there, and he's probably addressing very early Docetics, because they believed that Jesus being God, you can't kill God. So Jesus never died on the cross, he only appeared to die. And so what I found was how divergent the beliefs were, and it's like, well, they're so divergent. Some of them are still lost that we know very, very little about, but they're so divergent. How do I know that we got the right one in there? In the Bible, we got the right stuff. So it was that stuff I was looking through. There's all this other history, and over time it just kind of faded away. So it's like, well, I can't verify that what we have now today is what we should have if Christianity is still true. So it was very easy to step away from the Bible in general for all that stuff.
Right.
But it still kind of held on to it. If we're looking at Christian.
Tell your brothers to calm down. just so you guys know, his brothers are watching a game in the background. So right around, I guess, and this can be a little. He's going over to crack the whip, just so you guys know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of it. A lot of it's they can't talk quiet to each other. I can hear them from the living room and when they're yelling over each other. But yeah, so it was that, and so if I was looking at I was raised Catholic, and the best way to kind of describe how I was when I still held on to it, the Christianity for a little bit, because when I left, or as I was leaving, it was a long process. So these incremental steps. So to compare my beliefs after, my digs through history and stuff like that, I'd be compared similar to what a lot of the Unitarian Universalists would be, if you're familiar.
Mm-hmm. It's me, I don't know.
For a while. And then just over time, further looking and stuff, I finally made my way through all the different steps to a step like deism, and then to a little bit about being an agnostic, and then finally an atheist. So it was over years, kind of a slow kind of evolution for me.
Well, that seems to be a fairly common. I find that it is a slow sort of thing when you first break. To answer Pikachu's question, no, Pikachu, there will not be an after party today. It's my mom's birthday. So we'll do one on the next one, which will be Wednesday. I just find it took me a while too. I mean, in my case too, I bounced around to different paganistic beliefs, which I was talking about with Ocean the other day. Became Wiccan and whatnot. And finally I just said, and I'm sure you did the same, evidence of any deities of any kind, like, out there. So why the fuck do I carry this shit with me? Let's just sweep it outside and close the door and be done with it, and start advocating for people to these bad beliefs, because our beliefs inform our actions, and our actions have consequences.
Yeah. Yeah, there was it was I fell into a little bit of kind of the bad reasons for believing. I know not, because one of the big ones that I think most of us who would come out of atheism find is like the atheist experience and those groups. And when they make you comfortable with the term, but as you find out, as you dig into the different philosophy and all this other stuff, it does what they're presenting for atheism isn't quite right. But after I got to that point, I'm like, this isn't right, this isn't what is going here. But in my process to get there, to calling myself an atheist, there was I had to reject all these gods as I was going through. So it's like, well, I've already rejected them all. Stuff there that they don't exist, they don't believe in. So I could take that philosophical position quite easily, and I can defend it. So it wasn't like, I'm going to call myself an atheist. Oh, this is wrong, so I'm going to pull back and maybe call myself an agnostic. And I was like, no, I have plenty of reasons I can give why I believe these gods don't exist. So I'm fine sticking with the term.
Right.
So I got there in a way that was probably not the best way or the best way, but once I was there, I came to realize why I was there to begin with. I just didn't realize, took some bad advice, but at the same time, it's, I realize, well, I believe these don't exist. And if you get to something goofy like pantheism, which is the universe is God, I was like, that's a pretty metaphor, but that's about all it is.
Yeah, exactly. I never understood that. Why are you calling the universe God? It's already got a name. We call it the universe.
Well, there's a little more to it, and which comes into some goofy like spiritualism and stuff with it too, kind of new agey sounding, than just beyond, well, the universe is God.
Oh, I know. It's like, our energy returns to the. It's like, no, man. I often wondered, what the hell do you mean by that? Like we've never recorded any energy coming off of us other than heat. So they'd have to come up with a much better explanation as to what that means.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of rooted in some of the different philosophical positions that you'd take. So if you're some kind of a dualist or anything like that, where there's in philosophy there's the mind body problem, and so there's that's been around forever, and so part of it would be you're taking like a dualist approach where the mind and the body are different things, and so you can buy into kind of that the soul or the spirit and stuff leaving if you
Sure.
hold to that stuff. So that's where they're coming from. These different philosophical schools of thought. That so
Well,
it's.
yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Oh no, I was just saying it's like, oh, it's easy to say, oh well, the universe is God and all this other stuff. So why would you call it that? And part of it is just the different philosophies that build the foundation for it that you're working from, and then you got to kind of work your way back to handle these different things. Well, if I don't believe this, then how does this work, or this can't work that way, and the like. So
yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of kooky kind of belief systems that go along with that whole the universe, the deism thing, like the universe is God. I mean, I've had a chat with, not live on anything like this, with a friend of mine who I'm not naming names at the moment because she kind of didn't want me to. But anyway, until another time, I'll probably end up having her on the show at some point. But she used to be a guru for that kind of thing. And she was into the pyramid power and the healing crystals and all that stuff, right? And she had people that followed her everywhere. And then she finally, I guess she got, the story goes, if I can remember correctly, she got involved with somebody that was a little bit more scientifically based, that just basically debunked all of this shit, like right in front of her kind of thing. So she's now an advocate against all of that woo-woo nonsense, possibly harmful beliefs, right? Like that, right? Because these guys are like snake oil salesmen. They'll sell you, oh yeah, you just take this little amethyst pyramid home and you put it over your head and align your chakras and you'll feel much better. No, dude, it's not going to help at all. That kind of.
Yeah. It's always weird. I look at all the different brands of kind of snake oil sales, and it's like, oh, I can make so much money if I just didn't give it. I didn't care about what was actually true, kind of thing. It's like, there's a hustle somewhere for you.
It takes me back to I think it was Twain, or if he even said it, but you see the meme quite often. The religion or whatever was invented when the first con man met the first fool.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that was actually him or not. A lot of those memes come around are.
Yeah, I know. It's still funny.
Yeah, it's still funny.
It's
it's still something I kind of I like. So.
I mean, it's literally almost, the case if you think about it, but it's not like the first con man. It'd be like a group of them and a group of gullible people that couldn't read. It's probably more like it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't allow people to learn how to read at some points back in the day, right? Because they didn't want them catching on to the nonsense, probably.
Well, yeah, there's a long stretch of time before the Protestant Reformation that Christianity, the Church, Catholic Church especially, was against reading of the Bible. But a lot of it is just you got to have money to be educated to support education in general, kind of thing. So
sure.
we look at like the libraries and stuff of Alexandria or the stuff like that. And at its peak, when it was funded, you had all these works here, mostly poetry in Alexandria. That was a literature one, but not a scientific one that everybody thinks it was. But you have all this stuff, and then you're like, oh, so some religious group destroyed it all. It's like, no, a lot of it was just the pagan, the groups, the authorities in Alexandria just quit funding it over time. Cut the funding, slash funding, things we see here. And if you're not going to invest in education, it's hard to educate the populace to a level
Sure
they need to be at.
Terry Davies, I was talking about earlier that really the only energy that we can record or measure coming off of us is heat, and Terry says, well, we can electrically detect brain activity. Yes, Terry, we can, but you have to hook up diodes to the brain in order to do that, because outside of the skull, there's no energy flying around. I mean, they're still not even sure. It might be minimal at best, if there is any. But the only way to do that is to hook up, the little fucking things to your head, your brain waves that way. But they haven't actually recorded any significant amount of brain electricity or whatever, bioelectricity coming out of us. So, at least as far as I know, there may be something new. I don't know.
I thought there was like a real minimal stuff that you could pick up.
Yeah, but it's literally like just off the top of, because you've got skull and skin and everything that are insulators in the way, right? So it really you've got to hook right up, and it can pick it up that way. And if there is any, they're saying, well, neuroscientists that deal with this sort of thing say that you may get minor readings, like literally like 0.0000 something, just if you get it close enough without touching. But if you want actual readings, you got to hook right up to it. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, that's from what I was understanding. This is some special I watched a little while ago. They're showing this guy was crazy, man. He had this big thing that looked like a figure eight, and he had this guy hooked up to this, I don't know, machine. I guess it was reading brainwaves, and he started running this like back and forth. And he goes, all right, I want you to talk, and I'm going to hold this giant magnet thing around the back of your head, which is where your speech center is located or something. And the guy was talking, he kind of started doing that. He couldn't even speak anymore because he was tweaking his that part of his brain. It was the funniest fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
Telekinesis.
Yeah.
I wish I had telekinesis, Gary.
Yeah, I've seen some of those things, or there's the other studies where you can shut down certain or interrupt certain parts of the brain, and you think completely differently. It's amazing how different. I think for those that try to hold to substance dualism, those experiments are really, really hard to hold to anymore, when you can stimulate certain parts of the brain and basically change how we think and how we act and how this other stuff is. So, I got some evidence to go against it, that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, there's also, what do you call it there? When people have their corpus callosum split because of something like epilepsy, and they have to have the halves of the brain separated. And it has been documented that there have been dual personalities coming out. And one of the more interesting ones is the right side of the brain apparently was religious and the left side was atheist. And he had this inner conflict in part of in himself about this, right? So the two hemispheres are separate, and they almost developed two different personalities, or it has happened.
Yeah, there's where were they? I don't know if it was on a non-sec after show or if it was one of Steve McRae's rum and coke nights. They were talking about some of the studies with split brain things where they were, or at least the one gentleman that brought it up was suggesting that that's maybe why we think there's a God, is that the one half of our brain detecting the other half kind of thing. So we feel that there's something there, but we're just
Yeah.
detecting the other part of our brain, which is an interesting hypothesis, at least.
Yeah, for
And
sure. Alias fake name. I love that name, by the way. So that it's called. He had it done, or he. I'm not sure. Had it done. It's a transcranial magnetic stimulation, and they had it done for depression, and it worked. So very cool.
Yeah, I don't know much about the science, but that sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do something like that, split brain syndrome. Yeah. Well, so was your family really religious, or were they kind of more leaning towards the secular side of things? Like, were they churchgoers, that kind of thing?
We were churchgoers when we were younger. Um, we used to go pretty frequently every Sunday. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a list of things.
I think I froze.
Rowdy. So they don't like that part of it, or at least my parents. You go do something out there in public, it's like, oh, you're embarrassed of misbehaving, kind of thing. But I found it was just something over time. Part of it might have been part of it. I think a lot of it had to do with getting into sports activities year round,
Mm-hmm.
especially hockey. About third grade.
Nice.
Yep, got into that. So it was me and two younger brothers, and we played on two or three different teams just because of where our ages were. And if you've ever been into hockey or whatever, you're every weekend you're somewhere else to some tournament. And
Oh yeah.
when there's three different teams and best of four, there's no time to get back to things like church and stuff on a regular basis. So that was part of it. But then another part I found out years later was they had this. I don't know what they call it, but you basically leave your job and volunteer for the church for a year, or at least the women did in our small town church. And they went to my mom about it. And my mom, growing up in Chicago, city life's like, especially working class stuff and working her way out of that. She's like, I'm not leaving my job for a year to do this. And so she said she felt ostracized a bit by it. So between us getting into sports,
Wow.
yeah, getting into sports for a while probably gave her a convenient excuse to just say, no, we're going to slow. So over the years, it turned to Christmas, Easter, and then weddings and funerals were about the only things we went to church for. But by seventh, eighth grade, we were done. I mean,
Oh yeah.
we'd quit going to church altogether at that point. So that probably helped create some separation to when I flip open the different creation stories and like, well, why do I hold the Christian one and not this one or some other one? And looking back at it, I'm kind of, if people hadn't told me that the ancient Egyptian or the Greco-Roman pantheons were just mythologies, things that they came up to explain things they couldn't understand at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have moved my way into atheism a lot sooner because I love those stories, the different polytheistic stories and myths and stuff that go along with it. So I was enamored with
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. Um,
Me too.
yeah, so there's probably an opportunity if I wasn't, when you're told as a, fourth, fifth grade, 10, 11 years old, you're like, all right, this is just what, they believed in the past. They're wrong about it and all this other stuff. Um, it's not being practiced anymore, or at least to any significant degree. And so it's just like, all right, that's what these were. And I didn't question that part. But, I read the stories, I read the myths. Looked into like one of my favorite game series for the longest time was the Zeus and Poseidon city builder. I forget who put it out, but yeah, real simple city builder that you build it with all the myths and the heroes and stuff like that. And just because I was into those stories, um,
Yeah.
that
Is that some sort of Sim City kind of thing?
yeah, I like that. Like um, I forget who put it out. I have it on my PC now. They still have it on Steam and like good old games and stuff. So go pick it up. But yeah, I still play it to this day. I love that game.
Awesome. I still dig up my old Sim Cities, so it's the same idea, but you get monsters that destroy like Godzilla and shit that come out. It's great.
Yeah, you build the different the stuffs on. Sometimes you have to deal with the mythic monsters like the Hydra or
Yeah.
the Cerberus and stuff, and then you'd call in your gods or your mythical heroes to come take care of them. Then you go fight. Real simple game. I mean, it's 99, 2000, 2001 or whatever when that came out. So relatively simple compared to some of the stuff they put into the deeper ones that you can play today. But I love that game.
How long ago was that, anyways? Because I don't think I've seen games in that, a long time.
Yeah, it was one. Yeah,
Kind of evolved.
Yeah, it was early 2000s. I know
Okay,
these
yeah,
games
it's
come
about
out.
there. I think that was about the last time I played one of those games myself, too. Other than going on some sort of simulator.
Yeah, there's some of those, but yeah, that was one of my favorite games.
Awesome.
Playing on PC.
So, back with your family there, are they still believers, or have they kind of fallen away as well?
Well, I know for a fact one of my brothers is an atheist. The other two brothers of mine don't care. Like they'll watch. So they like Devin Tracy, Atheism Unstoppable, just for some of his, but he doesn't do very many atheism videos. They like some of the stuff TJ Kirk does. It's not the atheist. And these are the ones that aren't, or at least one of the ones that isn't out as an atheist, and the others are, the other one's just like doesn't care, doesn't bother him, doesn't cross his mind. Then my other brother that isn't out and out atheist watch, like I said, he likes AIU, some other channels and stuff that he'll watch on, but yeah, they're more concerned with they like the political stuff, or they like um, different entertainment stuff for the things on there. So they don't watch nearly as much um, theist content as I do. But yeah, they're that way. My mom gets funny around the religions. She thinks it's a little weird sometimes, but she still believes. She'll still talk about heaven and all that stuff. But for the most part, she lives a completely secular life that away from it. So it's like, no, doesn't it's not something that she's stuck into. Like I know some people's parents are, in the really goofy religions.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry.
No,
you don't have to worry about being disowned by them or anything, right?
No, but yeah, they still held on to my dad before he passed away and stuff. Every now and then would bring up religion and stuff there, but it was very very little, and it was kind of off the side. Yeah, for the most part, it was. I could have been just about anything.
And they probably wouldn't have cared.
Wouldn't care whether it was something religious or whether if I came out as gay or something like that. Wouldn't care. It's like you're you. We love you for that stuff. So I had it really easy compared to what some people do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, some of the people I've spoken to in some of these conversations had pretty much like the polar opposite of what you had there. You have parents that, though they still carried somewhat of a belief, they were fine with you being you. And even you saying that even if you told them you were gay or something, they would probably still be fine with that, which is great.
Yeah.
And that's a good set of parents there. But some people aren't that lucky. They don't get those kinds of parents where you tell them something like this. Like Look at poor Nacha, right? If he ever fessed up, I'm pretty sure they'd probably kick his ass out of there.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be, yeah. There's some that it's terrible to be that way, and I can't imagine that. And I found it weird too, even among some of my hyper religious friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because I on my personal Facebook, I'm out under my name and stuff. There was for a couple of years. Hold on a second here. Let me mute this. They're yelling again about that. I don't know if you
Go
can
kick
hear
some ass.
that.
I don't know. It's in the background though, so Red's just gonna go kick his brother's asses there for a second and tell him to shut the hell up. Someone lifting in the background? No, they're watching some sports thingamajiggy, and I guess they're getting a little loud. They tend to talk over and at each other, according to Red. So just gonna go tell them to calm down. Anyway, I think you need to put up some sort of sound barrier between you and your brothers there, buddy. Spot me, bro. What's this? Oh, sports ball. Yes.
Yeah,
they're poking fun at your brothers.
Yeah, it's it's always noisy. You got a big group of brothers. You never.
Of course.
You got to yell and scream about everything when you're talking to people normal. And
yeah, for sure. I mean, I got to deal with that shit too sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, my roommate's pretty chill most of the time. Like, even if I'm doing these sorts of things and she's like in the next room, she'll throw headphones on and listen to her music that way now. So I don't have to deal with any of that shit. So it's good. But she's never home for most of the ones that I do anyways, right? Because I'm usually doing them at 4 or 6. Like, usually it's the weekends that she's here when I'm doing them. But Snarky, my roommate's crazy. Yeah, we know. We know what you have to go through, Snarky. It's okay. Yeah. Shit. Well, the whole crew's hanging out in the chat right now.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions that they want to fire at Red here? Feel free to pop them up there. I'm keeping my eye on the chat as much as I can, but I can't get distracted,
Yeah. I remember we were on before I left. You had some of my openly religious, like super fundamentalist friends in real life were fine about it, which is, well, I find it weird because there was quite a few of us. I grew up in a small town, graduated with, I think, 50, 60 other people at most.
Yeah.
And there's a good percentage of us that ended up being atheists. And there's a good percentage that took the religion and became fundamentalists. And there's others that are in between that, while they're religious for the most part, it doesn't seem like it cares or brings into them in their lives and stuff. So even, on my personal Facebook, there's a couple of years there where I had a lot of these debates and discussions that I now do on Twitter over theological stuff, or when I go on a live stream. So that's where I was doing it there first. Then I guess just over time, it's something that kind of goes away. It just, as we're getting older and stuff, they got the families and stuff. They're not into the whole, well, here, let's have a whole theological discussion about this point or any of this other stuff back and forth. So started moving into other areas and doing it anonymously, talking with people. So that's how I got to where I'm hoping to finally get content out, but I got the day job, and all this last month with Adobe updating their stuff, not wanting to work with my computer. It should work with my computer, but for whatever reason, it's not picking stuff up. Finally got that resolved, so hopefully I can get some stuff out, at least one video out here before my Thursday debate. So when I have that over on Non-Sec, there's something there for people to go check out.
Yeah. I guess this coming Thursday you'll be on their show. Who are you going up against?
SJ. We're gonna be talking.
No way.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even religious based. She, for some odd reason, thinks participation trophies are a symbol or communist or whatever. Oh, it's ridiculous. I expect this shit show. She was supposed to email me her paper that she wrote on it. She said she's gonna cite in our discussion. She sends me
Yeah.
5 papers to nothing that has anything to do with her papers. They're not the ones that she published. And like, and she says I got dozens more, and all it is these papers about uh, psychological entitlement, but it's not about tying them to like participation trophies and stuff like that. But it's um, kind of validating um, the model kind of thing. So there's these studies that show, oh, well, in this study, this shows here it works stuff, and it's like none of this applies. Why are you sending me this instead of the papers you're gonna cite? And so
Exactly.
I
That doesn't
expect
make
the
any
shit
sense.
show. I expect the shit show it's gonna go down. It's gonna be interesting. I don't think she's quite. I mean, I won't quite get the luxury of going up against Dan Badandi like Trevor Valley did, which was a dumpster fire that you had to watch, and you had to see it. Just crazy.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, it was it was Thursday last week or Wednesday. Yeah. It
Well,
just.
I kind of my forehead was getting sore watching the non-sexo show so often.
Oh
I
yeah,
have
a
like
lot of it's stupid.
permanent handprint marks there.
Yeah.
Because that's really why I wear the bandana.
Yeah. Well, that and now they're doing like three shows for Saturday Night Fights most weeks now, just like overkill on the dumpster fires.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Snarky says dumpster fires are only fun if she has whiskey, which I concur.
Yeah.
The
Iowa,
more scotch
drink
or whiskey
Snarky more
I
whiskey. Do your job, bud.
Yeah.
And I don't
That
think
wasn't in the job description.
I don't think most people catch that. I forget we were on a stream. Oh, this had to be about 6 months ago now, with Snarky live, and we decided we were gonna pester Iowa to give her more whiskey, and so he was in a live chat of a Godless Engineer stream, and we rated that stream, tagging Godless Engineer and Kate and Chloe to get on Matt's butt about bringing Snarky whiskey. He was not happy with us that night.
Yeah, probably not. Although I bet you now he probably thinks back and laughs about it. Don't you, Iowan? I'm sure you do. Because I think he's still hanging out there. We got lots of people in the chat, so which you can probably see by now, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I brought that up.
He was not. He was less than impressed. No, I don't. Oh, Matt, come on, man. Live and let live, brother. Bury that shit somewhere. It's all good. We only bug you because we love you. You know that. She thinks it's funny, which is hilarious. Anyway, all right. So I guess you haven't really had to deal with much kind of rejection or ostracization or whatever from like even your friends and stuff. Even the ones that are hardcore believers, they still kind of hang out with you. Or has anyone that you know in that respect like kicked you to the curb at all?
No, well, no, none of them has kicked me to the curb. I don't do much hanging out with people in real life to begin with. It's usually Facebook stuff, messaging back and forth, or on Twitter and stuff. Part of it is
Or hanging out with us.
Yeah, hanging out with you guys now. Part of it was I went way away from where everybody I was hanging out with in high school, friends wise, for college, from way away from all of them. So I went not necessarily because hey, the people here suck or any of these other stuff. There's just an opportunity for me for college athletics to go, and it just happened to be far away from everywhere else, and it just kind of one of those things becomes hard to hang out with people going back for, maybe a couple months in the summer or the couple weeks in the winter between semesters and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was just talk on Facebook. And then when you finally move back, everybody's got a job. Everybody's got this stuff here. And then, if you weren't actively involved going out with them and stuff in the interim, you just kind of lose touch on that stuff. So yeah, most of it's Facebook conversations. Every now and then I'll see them, but yeah, run into them and we'll do something or pick up something there. So there's a couple of close ones that I still do some stuff with, but for the most part, a lot of them, there's that distance, that separation, and maybe that's why it's not that big of a deal when we have our little disagreements and stuff on Facebook.
Sure. I mean, you live far apart, so he doesn't have to worry about you getting any of that nasty atheism on him.
Yeah.
I got to go home and shower.
Yeah. So. And now I'm at an age where everybody's got families, and so they're all doing that stuff. And being the single guy to kind of hang out it's tough to do.
Yeah, single guys. Yeah. Yeah. I cherish my singleness after being married to a psychopath, and tried a couple more times only to find out that after being I came to this conclusion a little while ago. After being in however many relationships I've been in, I'm not even going to bother with numbers because I might scare people. I realized that the common denominator was me. So maybe it's just I'm not relationship material. I don't know. It's the only thing I could come up with. Well, except for the one I married who was doing cocaine and other guys to pay for the cocaine. That was kind of fucked up. But yeah.
Oh,
I lost you. Oh, there you are.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah, I never got into any of that the hard drug use or anything like that. Some weed every now and then.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to be legal, but even if it's legal, I got a job that they won't let me do it anyways on the side.
Well,
so
yeah, but
you
shouldn't do it at work anyways.
Well,
never do it at work.
But
anyway.
I mean, you don't want to have it because of how long it stays into your system, and then to have something go wrong at work where they send you for a drug test. It's like, unfortunately, the job's more important than taking that time. But
yeah. I tried other drugs too. I mean, I think I did acid twice, didn't like it both times. And I did mushrooms twice, and I didn't like that both times. They both made me sick in my gut as well. So I think that's probably, I'm getting some love now in here. Yeah, Staggerson. Yeah, I think when we had our chat, we were talking about that a little bit, about how our similarities with our marriage stories. And, thanks, you guys. I mean, I know maybe the one that I'm supposed to be with, we just never hooked up. Who knows? But anyway.
Yeah, it seems weird that way looking back on it. There's some that you fit, like, I go back with some of my things. It's like I'm dense, reading social cues and stuff like that for especially women off on that stuff. And there's like you'll find out later, and it's like, oh, they're into you, they want to do this. Like, all right, I missed it then. I'm a big dummy. I missed it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Well, Snarky made a good point too. Maybe I just haven't met her yet. And Iowan says if I was a slightly less hairy woman, he could recommend a friend to date me. Thanks, GI. I know you guys always have my back, but that was pretty funny. So, dude, have you ever, like, since becoming an atheist and whatnot, have you ever had dealings with like ultra religious people that you just had to walk away from or just scream at and tell them to shut up and go away? Like people that might come to your door knocking and stuff like that. You ever had to deal with anything like that?
Well, we used to deal with the JWs. Would come door to door back when I was growing up, and even as a Christian, they're the crazy religious people.
Right.
So the first thing, they got to the door the one time, and I'm out there doing something. There's knocking. who the hell's knocking on the door? I go open up. It's like, oh, can we do this and stuff? And the first thing I turn around, I go, hey mom, or hey dad, crazy religious people are here. As loud as I can as I'm walking away from them, so they come out and say something to them. It's like, hopefully they get the hit to just walk away. But I had that. I'd like to do some of the street debate stuff like that, but like I said, I grew up in a small town, and there are people on the corner. There was
right.
There was the one opportunity leaving a baseball game. For whatever reason, this preacher decided, as everybody's walking to their car, that he's going to go out and start preaching to people and all this other stuff. I would have liked to take the time to shit on him in a discussion, but it's just like, no, I'll just keep going. It's not worth the confrontation over the silly stuff he's saying.
Yeah. Plus, I'm sure after a game like that, you had better things to do.
Yeah, it was basically hit the road, head home. A couple hour drive.
Well, we used to have the crazies. I think they were JWs. They'd pull up in like 3 fucking vans full of them to the main big ass bus loop in Richmond, and they'd get out and they'd whip out their Bibles and they'd start yelling. This was years ago. They'd sit there for like an hour or so, and finally, me and another friend of mine just got so fed up with how time we went to a movie, and we come out, and then these guys would be there screaming and preaching, and we'd be like, guys, fuck off, go somewhere else, or we're going to have to call the police, because the police would have come down and told them to fuck off, because they can't really do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, I've been in there. I'm living in a larger town now, or larger, I won't say city yet, but way larger than anything I lived in growing up. Even going to college, I went to a relatively small college town. I mean, a small.
Did I lose you? Oh. Yeah, I think I lost you.
Like the time that there were actual people that lived in this town, so it was it was like we had. Oh, I forget however many it was, but it was, the numbers were just about the same, and so it was kind of got the peace and quiet of that, but you also got the larger college experience with it. So even then, so even compared where I'm living now is a heck of a lot bigger, but there's literally like 5 churches within a couple miles of my house.
Right.
So thankfully they're not the ones to. Thankfully, they're not the one. Well, part of it is I bought a house out in a development and outside of town, and so all those churches were put up because it was like farmland years ago, outside the edge of the city. So they all, that's where you could build if you wanted to build a new church or anything. You built them all out there. Well, now the housing developments are right where they are now. So that's why there's so many by me, because that was the only place you could build at the time. But yeah, I drive by like 5 of them just leaving my house within the first 5-10 minutes from my house. So it's crazy how many there are, and thankfully they're not the door-to-door ones.
Good. Yeah, because that's a little too close for comfort.
Yeah.
Every time I drive by a church, though, I start feeling like I can see smoke coming off of my arm. I'm like, better not get too close. I'm gonna burst into flames.
Yeah. Well, and I drive by them most of the time. The parking lots and everything are empty. I mean, so it's weird that you can have all that sitting up there, but that's what the tide's for, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, well, the statistics nowadays show that more and more people are not showing up for church anymore. It's kind of weird. It's almost like they're waking up a little bit about this.
Well, I don't think it's so much that they're leaving, more as it's just, they don't see going to church as important, so they may still hold on to the God.
Maybe, sure.
And I think it's that way too. I mean, we got so much stuff to keep you busy in real life instead of going to stop at, making time out of your day to go to church.
Oh, hello, Klaus. I just saw that. I mean, Yeah, that's true too. I mean, you think about today's everyday life for the average person, we're pretty full up with stuff to do. I mean, I know some people that are literally sloths otherwise, but yeah, we get busy, and it's hard to take that time to go and drag the family to church for a Sunday or even a Saturday, or well, in the Jewish faith, it's on the Friday night, and
Mhm.
yeah,
Well,
it's like fuck. My dad's like, "Oh, we're gonna go sit." I'm like, "Fuck that! I got a party to go to." Like, fuck you! I ain't going to synagogue. Fuck that.
yeah. Well, it was ours was every, being the Catholic one, it's like 3 times a week or whatever that you normally
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
So you're expected at the very least the Sunday one, but if you're really
yeah.
devout and so there you're there 3 times a week, and then you got the Sunday school, and
Yeah.
glad we got so busy that I didn't have to go through that. You know.
uh, Klaus is clawing me now, I think. And it's funny because I went to Sunday school once too, because those people that come to your door and have you heard the word? Well, my buddy ended up roping me into going to a Sunday school thing with him one time, and we're sitting in there, and she's asking all these questions, and I answered them all, no problem. I was like, "Oh yeah, I know that one. Oh yeah, I know that one." She's like, "How do you know all this?" I go, "Fuck, I was put through this when I was a little kid, like little kid. That's what they drill in. These are the stories they drill into our heads when you're super young as a Jew." She goes, "Oh, you're Jewish." I go, "Yeah, well, at then I was, right?" So I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." She goes, "Oh, okay, I see. So you have what they call Hebrew school." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's why you know all this." And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Well,
Yeah.
I would appreciate it if you'd leave." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And I left, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have the confirmation stuff in Catholicism that's probably pretty similar to the Hebrew school um, to go through. Like I said, luckily that wasn't something pushed very hard on us for all that extra time. So I never got through it, never got confirmed. I don't like, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good that they didn't push that shit on you too hard. So it sounds to me like, after all said and done, that it was a fairly easy process for you to leave that shit behind once you started seeing what you would consider holes. Uh,
Outside of the kind of night terrors you get when you finally realize that when you're dead, the lights go out, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
You think too much on that sometimes. So especially when you're leaving it, and you're coming out fresh. It's you're
oh, kind of
terrified in the
spooky.
chest, and you're ready to just like, oh no, I'm give me into something else. Get me out of that dark place when it first comes.
Well, sure.
So
I mean,
so that
nobody
was one of
wants
the
to
big ones
die.
with me leaving. And
Yeah,
if that's all you get, you've done what you've had it easy.
yeah, exactly. Because some people still, even though they try and tell themselves that they don't, they still carry with them the fear of hell too, right? Like, am I going to burn after for all this? I
Yeah.
find that that's quite common too with people that have left. And
Uh-huh.
Klaus is 61 today, so happy birthday, Klaus. Maybe his balls will drop now. He said. I think they probably should have by now, Klaus, but you know. Oh, he's getting really dirty. I don't know if I can repeat that shit on YouTube. And, of course, people will see it in the chat replay. So
Yeah,
anyway,
you don't mess with the penguins, I tell you. I had a um, they were aunts through not their aunts. I forget the exact relation, but when being a small town and stuff, you usually got a big extended family, and
mm,
so there was ones we'd see quite a bit. Were my uncles. Oh, there's
yeah, I had that
cousins or
too
something
growing
like
up.
that. The three of them were, just all three of them ended up being nuns, and yeah, they'll get you. You don't mess with them.
They whip out that ruler, start smacking you with it.
Never got that, but I mean, they were tough sons of guns. They'd get you. Um, you know, give as good as they got.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a friend that was stuck in a Catholic school when we were growing up, and he had all kinds of horror stories that the nuns would do when we'd meet up after school, smoke doobies or whatever, and he'd tell me, "Oh, you should have seen what this nun so and so did today."
Yeah,
she had one kid over her knee with his pants down, smacking him with a book, and I'm like, "Holy fuck, man!"
Yeah, I got that from my dad and my aunts and stuff about the nuns growing up, because they had been growing up and going to school in 50s and 60s, or my aunts were, because my dad's second youngest of 11 farm family.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, but I mean, he went in the 60s. So they all talk about like the one room schoolhouse a couple miles down the road where they had, I don't know, kindergarten till middle school, right around there. And then the teacher getting the thwap with the ruler and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I hear all that stuff. Like they used to talk about there was a principal back in that time at one of the high schools, always talked about the paddle. So that was kind of a thing that they still talked about, because being a small town, there's a couple of generations through there. So, if you're the grandson of, this principal or whatever, and, all the teachers, were students around this time and stuff. And, you go to school with the grandson, you hear all the stories that they used to do. It's like, man, oh man, my dad would today would go in there, if they could still get away with that stuff. He'd go in there and rough people up for that. You don't touch the kid.
Yeah. I used to hear stories. My dad told me, he says, a lot of times they'll take like your hands and put them together, and then they'll start smacking them. Right? Apparently, you could put a piece of hair in between your hands or something, and then it would make it bleed or something. I don't know. Well, they'd hit it with a book or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never had to do it, but I think I got hit with a ruler at school once or twice when I was a kid. Most of the time, my teacher would just pull me in the hallway and lift me up with one hand and hold me up against the wall, kind of thing, right? So,
yeah. I had a high school history teacher who, if you dozed off in class, would throw aluminum foil.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you faded out.
And
or
so
that may be me.
It was a little stuff, nothing that was going to hurt or anything like that, but he drew attention to it that way. Because by then he was, I think, 4 or 5 years from retirement at that point. So he had taught most of the kids that were growing with his parents back in the 80s and stuff. So you do that. I still remember one of the guys decided to screw with him. So he I forget what he knocked out or knocked there, but the kid knocked his stuff over off his desk or whatever when he did it to him, and boom, was out the door running. And the teacher ran him down and and caught him. It was funnier than hell.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, people can run faster scared than you can mad, right? So make sure you practice your sprinting if you're going to chase him.
I couldn't believe he could caught him given his age at the time and the differences there. But yeah, he was running right down right through it, and it was just the funniest thing to watch.
Yeah, I bet. Well, my friend, we are closing in on the hour here. It's literally 1 minute to. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we shut her down? Because, I can only stay or be late for mom, once or twice in your life. And every other time I'm going to get my ass kicked by my mom. So.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing to get beat up by your mom, man.
Yeah. We get that all the time. No, I got nothing else on my mind. If anybody is interested in an after show, I can probably set something up on.
There you guys go. You can chat with them. Chat with them. You don't need me for that anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess, are you willing to do that? Because I'm sure some of these guys would like to hang out with you.
Yeah, I'm willing to do it. I got to figure out how to do it. I got everything set up for.
It's easy. You know, you go into YouTube, go to events, click events, and then you just set up an event and then click go live or whatever.
All right,
Once
yeah,
you
I'll
set
do
up the
it.
event, you click it.
If I
All
do
right.
it, let me pull up the channel. I'll do it on my. I don't have anything on my main channel, but I do have a streaming channel on the side. Why I decided to do that, I don't know, but it'll probably be on the streaming channel. So I'll link that here in the chat. Give me a second.
Link that in the YouTube chat.
Yeah, just the channel that'll be on, because there's no subs on it.
Oh, I see.
So that people can find it, and I'll try to put it up on here.
You can drop the link for your Hangout in the
yeah, Neil's usual suspects. Yeah, I'll do it there.
Do that for sure. All right. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to do my little closing out here. Thanks a lot, dude, for coming and shooting the shit with me today. It was a good chat. Some pretty interesting things. We learned a little bit about brain science, kind of, which is fun. But I do that shit all day at work. So anyway, thanks everyone for showing up for this and hanging out with us. Happy birthday again to Klaus, who, by the way, is Frank. If you guys didn't realize that, Klaus is the guy I interviewed a little while ago. Yeah. 61 today, and his balls finally dropped, he says. Or so he says. And you know what I usually say at the end of these things. Hang on. Just let me double check something first. I just wanted you guys to know the next chat that I'll be doing will not be Wednesday. I was going to chat with Secular, but unfortunately, I have a blood donation that day. So it'll be on Saturday the 26th. Rachel, Doe-Eyed Atheist, is going to join me on Saturday. So I hope to see you guys there.
Well, I've been asking to see her again. She's been out of the loop for the last month or so.
Yeah, well, she's had her reasons. She's got, her hubby was back, and she was feeling a little stressed out by all the attention and all the stuff. So she stepped back for a bit just to regain herself, but she's coming back. And I'll be chatting with her on Saturday at about 6 p.m. Pacific, give or take, maybe a little earlier. I'll have to talk to her and see if she needs to go earlier, because she's an East Coaster, so that's 3 hours difference between us.
Yeah,
and she has a little one. So, all right, everyone, thanks again for showing up for this, and Redd, thanks again for joining me today. I appreciate that. Great chat, and hopefully we'll see you guys in the next chat on Saturday. And until then, remember, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. See you guys.